You didn't think I'd be gone forever, did ya? Yes, hello there once again everyone. I am the Self-Contained Thinker, and this is yet another update video. So, what's to update on? Well, you can probably tell I'm using a new camera. Don't get too excited. I'm only borrowing this camera. However, something similar to this should be in the works. Keyword being should be. So yeah, that's a thing. As is my new computer, which after about 2 months of work is finally an actual product. But if you want to know more about that, please check the video placed down below. Anyways, I feel like we should celebrate this occasion. All this new hardware makes me really happy, and the fact that I've been given all this potential is very empowering. The thing is, I don't really have anything to talk about, or rant on, or verses or whatever, so I don't really know what we could do together. So, unless you have any ideas, I guess we... What was that? No, bring that back. What is this? A new album? Wait, this was made by Keeponrockin404? You mean the Keeponrockin404? You mean the same man who made Issues with Aggression? The same album which I branded a 2 out of 10. The same man whose album was so bad that even he banished it to the deepest bowels of hell? That man? Oh, what am I doing? What does it look like I'm doing? What are you, stupid? Do you think I'd actually listen to this? Really? I'm afraid opening it will make me burst into flames. You actually think I'd stick this into my computer and listen to it? There, that's it. You're not getting anything out of this. Go. Shoo. Go bug some other YouTubers or something. You shouldn't need my opinion of this album to enjoy it or hate it. You know what? You know what? Fine. If you need my validation that badly, fine. I'll give it to you. I can't believe you're making me do this. Alright, well, like I've said before, I believe that the very first song of an album should be the showcase. It doesn't have to be the centerpiece or one of the singles, but it should give a good general idea on what the album is going to sound like. However, judging intro by those standards isn't really possible, so I'm going to put this responsibility on the shoulders of nostalgia, the next song we'll look at. So with all that out of the way, what does intro sound like? Well, to put it bluntly, it sucks. It sucks, it sucks, it sucks. I don't get it. I honestly don't get it. But, okay, let me elaborate. It's not as bad as, say, a song from Issues with Aggression, but honestly, this isn't much of an improvement. I mean, just listen to that piano chord. I know for a fact Lewis bought a new microphone, this exact one in fact, but what you can't buy is common sense. It doesn't matter how good your microphone is, if you record from an electric keyboard or any speaker for that matter, if you record it, then translate it into a subpar microphone, you're just asking for a drop in quality. You're asking for a very shallow sound. It doesn't make any sense, seeing as how the rest of the album is done in FL Studio, and maybe, just maybe, I could excuse this if the piece was in any way complex or just impossible to translate into Fruity Loops, but it isn't. Even if I ignore the fact that this was obviously recorded with ghetto tactics, the piece itself is very boring and underdeveloped. Really, it's just a couple of chords played over and over and over, and I doubt it took much time to come up with these notes. To tell you the truth, Keeponrockin404 wanted me to review both intro and nostalgia together, but really, I don't see the point, as one is just really a throwaway song that isn't ear-gratingly terrible, but, along with outros, serves little to no purpose other than have 14 songs rather than 12. So now we get to the real first song of the album, Nostalgia. I think we can all remember the colossal train wreck that was Gangster Skills, so I was pleasantly surprised to find Nostalgia to not only be better than Gangster Skills, but actually sound good by itself. Now, don't get me wrong, there are problems like the guitar riff. I mean, just listen to that. However, any problematic sections of the song, like the guitar riff for example, are quickly and painlessly passed. There is another part that needs to be mentioned though, the lyrics. The lyrics kinda suck. I will give credit where credit is due. It is a song about how he lost a friend and how he might have been wrong and all that jazz. Certainly nothing I haven't heard before, but at least it's something new. The lyrics themselves are actually relatively okay. You know, they could use a little polish, but it's nothing I'll lose sleep over. The main problem lies in the delivery. You'd think an emotional song like this with emotional lyrics and an emotional beat would lead to some, oh, I don't know, say it with me now, emotion in the singing. It really throws the song up and ruins what could have been one of the best songs on this album. It's still good, I guess, but keep in mind that I actually like to hear the lyrics in a song, especially in one that's supposed to be as serious and down-to-earth as this one is. I might be stating the obvious here, but I think this song is about me. Me! It's all about me. In all seriousness though, the title of this song is really misleading. Sure, he does state he has a suspicion about someone talking smack and whatnot, but that's only a small portion of the song. And when I say small, I mean 13 seconds small. The rest seems to be a sort of apology for Issue with Aggression and how he'll make it better with this one. But sorry man, it's too little too late. I'm actually a little surprised this wasn't placed as the first track, to be honest. I mean, it is an apology. Shouldn't it be the forefront? Going in deeper, however, this song does come off as a bit generic. I don't know if that's the right term. Maybe repetitive would be a better fit. The beat, which really isn't more than a glorified 5-second loop, is repeated over and over and over. To put it lightly, it gets stale fast. The lyrics fare no better. Again, it's an apology, so there's not much to work with. But seriously, the excuses made for Issue with Aggression are not even good ones.
I just wanted it to come out as fast as it could, of course
Lewis, did you even listen to your rapping in your album? It was the most slow, deliberate thing I've ever heard in my life. You literally said one word, one syllable to each beat. There's no way you can justify speed over how good your actual rhymes were. However, if you were talking about how fast you were making the songs, which was like one a day, I fully agree. Let's move on. Another problem with the lyrics is that they again suffer from monotone voice syndrome. So let me get this straight. You have a stale and repetitive beat that doesn't even sound that good, apologetic lyrics sung with no enthusiasm whatsoever, and you're going to say that you were lazy and are going to try harder. Well, sorry to say, but I'm still not convinced. I wouldn't consider any of the songs here to be filler, but if this song was literally about anything else, it would be able to see Issue with Aggression from a glass-bottom boat. Isn't this a pleasant surprise? A sequel to one of the only good songs in Issues with Aggression. And when I say pleasant, I mean absolutely horrible. I'm gonna get this out of the way right now. I don't like this song. Not because it has ties to Issues with Aggression, but because by itself it's just not good. Well, here's the premise. It tells the tale of Autumn Evans, who is deeply in love with Drake, just enamored with the guy. For whatever reason, we're not really told, but it essentially goes through emo Drake, but from her perspective, which provides for a very boring experience. At least from Drake's side, you get to hear about the things he's going through and what is causing his spiral into darkness. You know, it actually accomplishes something. Here, on the other hand, what happens? She tries to call Drake, but finds out he's dead. Wow. Another huge sin this song commits is jumping genres. While emo Drake was, in my humble opinion, a bit of a tragic comedy, here's just straight up sad. This girl just lost the love of her life. Someone who she thought she was going to spend the rest of her life with, after she heard that he accused her of stealing her lunch money. Oh. Do you see why this doesn't really work? I'll give it credit, it does sort of ignore the events happening in emo Drake and the genre and such, but with knowledge of that song, it's really hard to take seriously. Add to the problems that the song has production-wise, you know, offbeat singing, a horrible looping track again, and really it just makes me wish this song had gone in an entirely different direction than what we see here. Wait, hold up, a comedic song? So this album isn't restricted to being serious. Then why wasn't Autumn never mind. I'm a Threat is a complete departure of the songs we've seen so far, and while that isn't necessarily a bad thing, it does raise an eyebrow as to why this route was taken. So given my rather lukewarm explanation, what do I think of I'm a Threat? I like it. It doesn't take itself too seriously, but it isn't too mindless, and shows the real comedic strengths of Issue with Aggression without the downsides. But the best part by far is the animated video by Dimension KC, the same person who did my intro. It really adds some life to the track, because if I were to critically analyze it like I'm doing now, this song still suffers from problems, mainly with the beat, but it works because it's comedic and chaotic. The animation reflects perfectly upon each scene, and although it could be better, it still impresses me just how much was accomplished. I haven't really talked about the lyrics because there's no way I could talk about them without just spoiling the song, which I don't want to do. But to put it shortly, there's actually a hint of emotion in them, and although the verses are paced similarly, they are distinctive, catchy, and fun. Keyword being fun. This is actually something I could see myself listening to. If it was sung on beat and had some of the more forced rhymes refined, I have no doubt that this would be the best song on this album. Given the title for the song, you might be mistaken for thinking that this was the solo of the album. The highlight, if you would. And technically you'd be correct. Until I Die again shifts the musical tone from silliness right back to seriousness, with an overall feeling of dreariness. I'm not going to name names, but it really does remind me of a certain song from Issues with Aggression, mainly because it's about individualism and how we can't get along until I die. Get it now? Not to say that the production values aren't that good, because while they certainly aren't great, with the same damn problems of offbeat singing and lyrics I can barely even hear, they're at least somewhat acceptable. Speaking of the lyrics are actually okay, when you can hear them, like I said, but the delivery of them is the worst yet. I'm not even talking about the monotone style he's going with, because it makes a little bit of sense here. I'm not talking about that, no. I'm talking about the fact that this was recorded in one go. I don't know what Lewis was thinking, and it causes all sorts of problems, like the aforementioned quiet and offbeat singing. I appreciate the effort, but it just falls flat on every verse. It doesn't help that this guitar style isn't very good, it just sounds fake, and it's boring. I don't expect every song to be the epitome of high-action death metal, but for God's sakes, it's the same repetitive loop again. The title of this album is very misleading. It shouldn't be Until I Die, it should be Until I Stop Looping My Damn Songs. So, yes, technically this could be considered the highlight of the album, but if this is truly the brightest moment of this album, I am truly scared of what the rest holds in store for us. Now that we've gone over the technical highlight of this album, we can move on to the actual highlight of this album. The greatest of all time is a rap collaboration between Dimension KC, Keeponrockin404, of course, and me. That's right, I am in a Keeponrockin404 rap video. So obviously I like it. Yeah, of course not. Why wouldn't I? It's got me in it, of course. But in all seriousness, it's a rap video from Keeponrockin404, so there's not much I can really say about it here, except for the fact that it's decent. Not only because of my obvious bias towards myself, but because the production values are very high. The beat is repetitive, but it makes up for it by having three people rapping very differently from each other. Their styles are very distinctive. Lewis raps about how much talent he has and how he's actually trying with this album. It's almost an extension of Suspicion if you really think about it. Me, however, I go on a full tirade against Lewis, blasting his previous album and asserting my total dominance over him. And Dimension KC, well, he pulls the retard card and ends up getting shanked by the last man standing. If I were to have to pick the worst raps, I would have to pick Dimension KC's because, well, just no. But I can't really blame the album itself for that, as Keeponrockin404 had little to do with those portions, although they were included and they weren't modified. So really the blame falls where the blame falls. The video itself is stable, well shot, with plenty of angles and such, and helps keep the listener invested. It's not nearly as complex as I'm a Threat, but it doesn't have to be, and in my opinion, it shouldn't be. To put it simply, if Issues with Aggression was all this, then it would have fared much better. But as it stands, I'm perfectly content with this solid track. It has varied lyrics, characters, and a very well produced video. I have no problem recommending this as the best song on this album. It's bad, I don't want to talk about it. Fine, I'll go over it. Just, how could we have fallen so fast? We went from mediocre to great to horrible in 3 songs. It's not Issues with Aggression bad, but it sure comes very close. I mean, it's just, I can't even come up with legitimate complaints. The entire song is just, it's garbage, it's trash, it's unnecessary. The lyrics? What lyrics? You mean this freestyle garbage? From what little I can actually bear to listen to, it sounds like the premature child of Suspicion and gangster skills. Same horrible boasting with little to no actual substance backing it up. And sung offbeat and off-key. The beat is literally, okay? No, it's literally, as in literally, a 5-second loop. And when he sings along to it, it makes me want to shove a screwdriver in both ears. It's pretty bad. I've even talked to Lewis about it, and he even said it was the worst song in this album. So if that's the case, why not remove it? I was given the album a few weeks before it was released, and even then I pointed out these problems. So why weren't they fixed in the final version? Couldn't you even at least have fixed the syncing issues? Or better yet, just scrap the entire song? It doesn't add anything to the album, and there is no reason for it to be here other than to just be here. If there were any filler songs in this album, this would be it. Now, if I recall correctly, I believe this was one of the first songs Lewis made for this album. It was certainly the first one he made a video for, but that's besides the point. I can't tell if this is supposed to be serious or not, but I'm gonna go with my gut instinct and say that this is a silly song. I hope. To summarize, a guy walks around with a gun and wants to shoot a bunch of people, gets put in jail, gets shanked in the eye, and yeah, lovely. Aside from the odd lyrics, we get a looping beat. I swear to God, I'm gonna give a total of how many times I said looping beat at the end of this. It's okay, just this really generic guitar riff with some drums. Occasionally it changes, and halfway through the song it does go to some sort of solo, but aside from that, it isn't anything special. The vocal performance is okay too. It stays with the beat for the most part and doesn't stray too far away from the tune to be considered off-key. Really, the only problem I have is the ending.
My brain is insane! 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 My brain is...
Now that's just cringeworthy. Don't ever do that again. It's an okay song, not too much wrong, without too much repetition to make me want to kill myself. You might have noticed I haven't really talked about the music video that much because, well, there's not much to it. Lewis picks up a gun, and walks, and walks, and walks, and walks. It's okay, nothing wrong with it, it's just okay. Boring would be a good term to use. Unlike the previous videos, it doesn't really add much, and, well, what happens in the video doesn't even match up to what happens in the music video. It's been unnecessary to say the least, and I would have much preferred the effort that was put into the music video be put into improving Old School or anything else. Don't worry, we'll get to the actual song, but first off, I have to say that guitar riff. Wow, that guitar riff. I can't understand this song. I can't. No, seriously, I can't. You try it. He even lowers the volume on the beat, but I still can't hear it. Try it. No, seriously, try it. I can't make any sense of it. I can't make any sense of it, and I know what you're gonna say. Just read the lyrics. It's the same excuse I hear for death metal, and it doesn't work there, and it doesn't work here. When I'm listening to a song, I shouldn't feel the need to also be reading the lyrics. And if I can't understand what the heck is being said, then the rest of the song should carry it at least. Well, I've already said that the main riff is so obviously I don't appreciate it much, but I think the entire song repeats. Yeah, I can't tell because I can't understand what he's saying, so the lyrics might be different, but the beat itself repeats twice with no variation. Luckily, it's only a 2.5-minute song, so I guess I can sort of forgive it. On top of that, there's the usual problems of offbeat singing and monotone voice and yeah. We've all heard this before. Why is it that half the song is separate from this and the other half is perfectly fine? Could you not put in the effort to at least sync all of the songs? But that's besides the point. The point that I'm trying to make is that this song sounds underdeveloped and very amateurish and proudly stands right next to Old School as being one of the worst songs on this album. Holy balls! This actually sounds like an actual song! Who'd have thought of that? But in all seriousness, this is one of the better songs on the album, even if it is a bit boring. I'm also pretty sure you can put together what song this is by looking at the title as well. But in case you do need help for some reason, it's about life going on and how things will be alright. For some reason, I can only see this as Lewis telling himself this album will be good. He just needs to keep going on, you know? Well, he is getting better to an extent, so I can't argue with him, but aside from that, there really isn't much here. The piano tune at least reflects the tone of the song properly, and it doesn't force itself to be too serious or unintentionally funny, although it does essentially loop the entire thing over and over again. A running theme in this album, I'm finding. On top of that, the entire album just repeats for seemingly no reason. I get that it was done to make it longer, but artificial lengthening your songs is just lazy. Aside from that, it only suffers from one major problem: the singing. for the love of God, put some emotion into your singing. It's not hard. I mean, you're sitting there with a microphone right in front of your face and a limitless amount of time to work with. We're at song 11 and we're still suffering from these problems. Man, I'm getting seriously sick of this, especially since some of these songs are meant to be taken seriously. But like I said, it is one of the better songs on this album, which I guess really speaks volumes on the album itself. But, you know, it's a song, it's here, and I can't really shake too much at it. I don't care, more like I don't care about this song. Let's move on. It was just a joke. Are you people really that retarded? I Don't Care is a song that is quite similar to Nostalgia in the sense that they are both remembrance songs. But between the two, I actually prefer I Don't Care because it doesn't have those same plaguing issues as the rest of this album. It's sung on beat, the tone of the song is correct, and even the singing is above average. This probably has to do with the fact that this is a song about an old friend, not one that I know of, but a friend that apparently did him wrong. It's very serious and touchy and actually makes you think that he knows about what the heck he's even talking about. The beat itself is very interesting. Instead of going with a generic sad piano or sad violin, it opts for a more suspenseful, atmospheric beat, which really does wonders for the song. I really like this one. Even if it does tend to repeat a few times here and there, I'm more than willing to forgive it on this one account. The lyrics are engaging, the beat is very original and well produced, and the entire song as a whole is definitely one of the few masterpieces on this album. Jesus Christ, how long is this thing? 9 minutes? Oh, come on. No. You'd think that with a 9-minute song I'd be able to say a lot about it. Unfortunately, not much comes to mind. The first thing that could be said is, did this really need to be a 9-minute song? Would removing the 300 equally crappy guitar solos hurt the song? If you were smart, you would have said yes. I'm actually feeling legitimately bad. I can't think of one thing to say. It's just there. It's not good, it's not bad, it's below average. That's going by the standards of this album. I know Lewis is probably going to get a bit butthurt about me essentially skipping over this song, but please, you tell me what you think about this song. And here's where our journey ends, with an extended version of the second half of intro. So everything I've said there pretty much applies here. I'm not going to give outro an in-depth explanation because it really is just an extension of intro and I really don't see the point. So if you really must have a score, well, there you go. You might have noticed I've been drawing a lot of comparisons between Issues with Aggression and Until I Die. And before I give out the final score, I think I need to say something. Is Until I Die better than Issues with Aggression? That's a hard choice to make, because even though the problems I listed with Issues with Aggression have been addressed for the most part, I find that album much more fun to listen to. It's simply a case of, do you want a crappy but fun experience, or a more serious, focused but mediocre experience? I'm not going to factor this into the final score, but it was something I felt the need to get off my chest anyways. So we arrive here. Did I like the album? Well, to tell you the truth, no, I didn't. Technically, there's nothing wrong with it, for the most part, and I don't want to discredit anyone from listening to it, but it really felt like a drag listening to it for the second time for this review. I might be a bit biased because, let's face it, with Issues with Aggression nearly every single song made me burst out in laughter, but with this one, I feel it would have been much better if half the songs were cut out, and either released on their own or in a much smaller album. Call it the self-contained edition or something similar, I don't know. Now after listening to all that, you might be raising an eyebrow to Issues with Aggression's 2 out of 10 score, but that's because I was critically analyzing it and not treating it like a guilty pleasure, which it certainly is. So after giving it some thought on how improved it is over Issues with Aggression, how the songs stack up, and how great the good ones are and how horrible the bad ones are, I think I've decided on a pretty fair score. As a whole, I'm going to give Until I Die a 5 out of 10. Is it a bit mediocre? Yeah, but you can still listen to it, and you are more than able to just skip the songs I had issues with. Now, if there was this hypothetical self-contained version of the album, I'd probably bump up the score one more notch to a 6 out of 10, simply because that would remove much of the bloat. It wouldn't really fix any of the other problems, but it would make it a much more enjoyable package. So there you go, a 5 out of 10. I hope you're happy with this review. I'm sure glad I finally get it out of the way. And now that I have a new PC, maybe I'll finally be able to get some new videos out. So anyways, if you want to watch my original review on Issues with Aggression, please click right here. As always, I am the Self-Contained Thinker. I thank you all for watching this review, and I hope you have a wonderful day.